In New York, please vote no on Prop 1. If you don't see it at the bottom of your ballot, flip the ballot over. It'll be on the back.
Hey folks, I'm sitting with Bobbie Anne Cox, who is a constitutional lawyer in New York State and a fellow, I guess a fellow at the Brownstone Institute. We've just been in a conference here, and I have learned from her about Proposal 1 on the New York ballot, and I must say I was shocked and horrified at what she had to tell me, and I'm hoping that she will convey it to you, especially if you're in New York and you're trying to figure out how to vote. So tell me, Proposal 1, what does it look like on the ballot, and what is it?
Right, so Proposal 1 on your ballot looks wonderful. You know, it says, vote yes if you want to protect against unequal treatment for these classes of people. So it sounds really good, and most people will have the initial knee-jerk reaction to vote yes. But what Proposal 1 really is a Trojan horse. The language you see on your ballot is not the language that will go into our Constitution if Proposal 1 passes. You don't get to see the actual language that would go into the Constitution. And part of that language that you don't get to see is an entire paragraph that gives the government the power to discriminate against us if they are doing so in the name of reversing a past discrimination or preventing a future discrimination. So it's not even the actual language that will go into the Constitution if Prop 1 passes.
So is this the kind of thing that's going to put biological males on girls' sports teams?
Absolutely, absolutely. The language says you can't discriminate against someone based on gender identity, gender expression. That means biological males will have a constitutional right to play on girls' sports teams, use women's safe spaces like bathrooms, locker rooms, dormitories, prisons. That will become a constitutional right, no doubt.
Am I also right in thinking that the language surrounding the court's role in preventing discrimination based on national origin actually opens the door to fights over whether illegal immigrants are entitled to vote, because blocking them from voting would be discrimination?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. This language says you can't discriminate based on national origin, so now illegal immigrants will have the same constitutional rights as New Yorkers, and that's going to open the floodgates to include the right to vote. That is going to be a conflict with another part of our Constitution that says that only citizens can vote. Well, now we have two parts of the Constitution conflicting against one another. Now we have to fight it out in court and figure out which one is right, which one's more powerful. So you're absolutely right, Bret. That is another consequence if Prop 1 passes.
And I understand from you that this proposal is being sold on the basis of enshrining reproductive rights in the New York State Constitution. Are reproductive rights protected by this proposal?
Yeah, so this is really a really big play on words here. The word abortion is not even mentioned in Prop 1, and the word right is not even mentioned in Prop 1. So there's no right to an abortion being given in Proposal number 1. It says you can't discriminate based on someone's pregnancy or someone's pregnancy outcomes. So no, this is not what they're selling it to be, which is, you know, they're saying this will enshrine abortion rights in the Constitution, but there's no right being conferred here.
So is it fair to say that in New York State, if this law passes, that courts will be adjudicating which citizens are entitled to be prioritized rather than delivering equal protection under the law?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen, because you will have these protected classes pitted against one another and fighting over, well, whose rights are more superior to the other person's? Is a trans athlete's rights more superior to a girl's right to have the ability to play sports on a girls' team? You know, right? So now we're going to see people fighting against one another. You know, if you can't discriminate based on pregnancy outcomes, are hospitals, Catholic hospitals in New York State, going to be forced to perform abortions now? or lose their funding from the state, right? We're going to see these everyday situations play out, and they're going to be very litigious. There's going to be a lot of infighting going on.
And there is a provision in this proposal, or it appears to attempt to prevent discrimination based on age, which people will naturally imagine is about the elderly.
Right.
But the way it's written, am I correct in thinking that actually this potentially enables children to avail themselves of rights that would ordinarily be the province of their parents?
Definitely, definitely. If you can't, discriminate based on age, you're now treating children as adults, and you are severing that parental relationship with the child and allowing the government to step in and help the child make these decisions instead of the parent. And we have a bill sitting in Albany waiting to be passed, which if Prop 1 passes, this type of a bill would easily pass and become law. And that specifically says children can make their own medical decisions without parental consent, without parental knowledge. The parents still have to pick up the bill, but the parents are not allowed to know what medical treatments their child is receiving. And even if you try to find out, and you call that doctor's office or you call the hospital and say, what are you doing with my child? This bill says they're not allowed to tell you unless the child gives consent.
So Proposal 1 would set up that bill for passage.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the final thing is many people will look at this and they will think, well, that's a terrible idea, but I don't live in New York, it doesn't affect me. But what you said in your presentation on this proposal chilled me to the bone, which was, if this passes, it's coming to a state near you. This is a test of a strategy for a bait and switch, for making something that sounds lovely that all people would want to embrace and using it to smuggle in this diabolical change to the law which uninvents equal protection.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is really a bait and switch. And I was speaking here at the Brownstone event, I was speaking with another fellow who is from Australia. And something like this is already happening in Australia with their anti-discrimination speech law. And this Prop 1 is basically will have the same effect as an anti-discrimination speech law if Prop 1 passes, because now that paragraph B gives the government the authority to discriminate. And so, the government will determine what is discrimination, what is hate speech. The courts will determine what is discrimination, what is hate speech. So that takes the power of free speech away from the people. It would also affect, freedom of religion, because now, what if the government deems your religious institution is, discriminating in their beliefs, in their practices, in their religious norms? This is really a tremendous power grab by the government.
Yeah, and it sets us up for an absolute dystopia in which this becomes a never-ending team sport where the courts step in on behalf of one group and go after another group, and so it's really a question of just simply who's in power and who they don't like and where they choose to see discrimination and where they choose to ignore it. And there's no conceivable way that a just society could survive under such rules. So New York, you've got a serious one on your ballot. I would say turn out and vote against this thing. For all of us, we're counting on you.
Absolutely. New York, please vote no on Prop 1. If you don't see it at the bottom of your ballot, flip the ballot over. It'll be on the back. And anybody can get more information at my website, voteno on prop1.org. But please don't sit this out. I mean, this election is much too important. We have to vote no on Prop 1 and defeat this Trojan horse.
Am I right that on your website it would be very easy to see the paragraph that they will not see on the ballot itself?
Yes, if you go to votenoonprop1.org and you just click on the page that says what's really on the ballot, that has the language of what's on the ballot versus what will go into the Constitution if Proposal 1 passes. So I really encourage people to go there, look at the language for yourself, and just spread the word. Vote no on Proposal 1. It is just such a tremendous insult to the people of New York, and it is a huge power grab that the government is not being truthful about when they sell this to you. So yeah, it's super important. Get out and vote. Vote no on Prop 1.
All right. Bobbie Anne Cox, thank you for doing this. Thank you for everything you're doing on our behalf.
Thank you.
And you guys give her a follow.